Right, here we go.
Awesome. You know, that was amazing what just took place and not commonplace. So, you guys were a part of something very special. So, privileged to hear that story tonight, Kendra. I don't know if she's here or in the bathroom wiping her tears and stuff, but I was very privileged to hear that story and really blown away at the transparency and the healing. When you bring to light sin, it hates it, and so it leaves. That's what that happened right there. So I encourage you, anybody in here who's struggling with an addiction that you feel like you're too ashamed to share it doesn't have to be pornography. It can be anything from cigarettes to biting your fingernails, honestly. But like share it. Get it out there. It really is the difference maker. The devil wants you to hide it, and Jesus wants to shine his light on it. Jesus is a miracle worker. He brings dead things to life. He brings dead things to life. So trust him. But tonight we're gonna conclude our series that we've been in this month called Together. Together. We're gonna conclude this series tonight, and I realized that when I was in high school, I never had an actual functional, healthy relationship with a girl. I never dated a girl a healthy, functional way. Can anybody else relate to this right now? Okay, I'm not alone. Okay, I'm bringing to light my problems. And some of you are like, still can't, And I never dated a girl in a healthy way. And I even realized this. It gets deeper. It gets even more deeper that I only had a few friends that I felt like were healthy and real. Can anybody else relate to that? That you have an even difficult time making good friends, healthy relationships. You find yourself in bad relationships, doing bad things, and you feel like you're in this cycle and you're stuck. Well, tonight we're going to address these things. Life is meant to be done together. Whether it's marriage, whether it's with Jesus, and if it's with one another in this room. Life is meant to be done together. And it really wasn't until I was in college that I began to develop healthy friends with men, and for the first time ever, I had a healthy relationship with a girl who I then married. Her name is Jen. And let me read to you Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9. It says, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. Has anybody ever just felt like you don't want to do this thing alone, like maybe a road trip, or you don't want to go to college alone? Or you don't want to go to the movies alone, and you feel weird going out to dinner alone, and you are willing to go out and have a great night, but definitely not by yourself. Can anybody relate to those things I just said? If somebody would just call you, or if somebody would accept your invitation, you would have an amazing life. But since nobody is accepting that invitation, or nobody is calling you, nobody is asking you out, you're living fairly secluded, fairly alone, not much fun, making excuses why you can't eat alone, why you can't go to the movies alone, why you can't go to the coffee shop alone. You're having a hard time with this thing called life because you don't want to do it alone. And you know what? It's kind of the truth is that 2 are better than 1, for they can help each other succeed. And it's true. The Bible is true. And so we must follow the word of the Lord. We must obey what Scripture says. Now let me also read to you Ecclesiastes 4, verse 12. A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Every relationship should have 3 people involved. It's me, my wife, and Jesus. And that's the triple cord. It's not easily broken when Jesus
is involved. And it's so true, not just with dating relationships, but it's incredibly powerful with friends. You get a friend and you're back to back, and then you bring Jesus into that thing. It is a very, very strong relationship, a bond that's hard to break. A powerful bond that's hard to break. And so I want to just preach to you tonight and encourage you tonight how important it is to do life together. And every time I say together, I hope you're picturing the number 2. Amen. And so this isn't just a message about relationships. This is a message about your relationships with the opposite sex, yes, but also your relationships with friends. With the same sex, and you can have friends with the opposite sex. Are we doing it all the right way? Are we doing it properly? Are we doing it biblically? Let me read to you one more verse. 1 Thessalonians 5:11. It says, encourage each other and build each other up just as you are already doing. So tonight we are just going to encourage each other and we are going to build each other up so that we can become even better at being together. And so I got a lot of things to talk about tonight. But when is together good when it comes to dating? Go ahead, throw that up. When is together good when it comes to dating? I want to give you 5 things, quick things right now about how you know you're dating a good way. Okay, you ready? When is together good when it comes to dating? Here's number 1 is this. If you're okay with being single. Interesting, right? If you are looking to date because you're tired of being single, that is not a good time to be together. You're not healthy. You're not in a right state of mind. You're not entering the relationship in the right way. You know, until you're okay with being single and being alone, it's never a good idea to jump into a relationship. Desperation reeks, and it doesn't smell good. I don't, when I was dating and when I was in the scene, desperate girls were hard to define but easy to pick out. Does that make sense? Hard to define but easy to pick out. And I wasn't attracted to the desperate girl. Her vibe, her energy, her flirtiness, her over the top with me, I didn't like that. I wasn't attracted to that. I wasn't longing for that. And it never appealed to me. But the confident woman that I had a hard time grabbing the attention of, that's the one I wanted to chase down. That's the one I wanted to win. That's the one I wanted to pursue. I wanted to get that one. The one that didn't notice me. The one that was okay with walking alone. The one that sat alone in class but was incredibly attractive. That one right there. And the one that walked across campus and was confident with her girlfriends and didn't need me on her side. I wanted that one. You understand what I'm saying? And if you're okay with being single, then you're okay to be together. Number 2. This microphone is just like, when you're ready to marry, when is together okay for dating? Number 2, when you're ready to marry. Don't jump into a dating relationship if you're not ready to marry. That's unfair to the other person. It doesn't, I don't like being used. I don't like to be a season in somebody's life. I want to know that people love me and want to be with me for forever. And if I'm just a season, if I'm just a moment in time for you, for just a quick something to fill a bucket that you want filled up some weird way, I don't like that. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be in your life if you want me in your life for forever. You know what I'm saying? So if you're ready to marry, then you're ready to date. Number 3, how do you know if when together is good for dating? Is if your goal is purity. Purity within the relationship. And this is good. This stuff is even good for just friendships. But if you're ready to date is when you're ready to be pure. You're like, my goal is purity. I'm passionate about purity. I'm going to date this person and I want to be pure. Purity is my goal. Then you're ready to be together. Number 4, when you've decided to never break up with Jesus. Back in the day, people used to say, I'm dating Jesus right now. Has anybody ever heard that? Like, hey, you got a boyfriend, you got a girlfriend, you're like, no, I'm dating Jesus. A lot of girls say this. This isn't really a guy thing because guys don't date Jesus. Because I don't want to get into that. That's a whole other message. Maybe a small group discussion. But girls would say this, I'm just dating Jesus right now. And so my next question would be, so when you do get a boyfriend, you're breaking up with Jesus? See, you're going to put Jesus aside? No, you're ready to be together when you're ready to never break up with Jesus. You don't put Jesus aside when you get into a dating relationship. He is that equals that third strand, that 3-strand cord. Okay? So that's good. Number 5, last one is when you know you're ready to be together when it comes to dating is if that person loves Jesus. They really love Jesus. And that's when you're ready to date. Those are just 5 quick things. So when is together good when it comes to friends? When is together good when it comes to friends? So you're sitting next to somebody tonight, and they might be your best friend. They could be a potential best friend. They could be an acquaintance, a peer. Maybe you don't even know who they are. Maybe they're your cuz. I don't know. But you've got, when is together good when it comes to friends? Because your friendships are very important. I mean, incredibly important. When Jen and I started to get to know each other, I wanted to get to know her friends. Why? Because her friends were the shadow of who she was as well. The humor and the way the studies that they were involved in at school and the churches that they went to together, and the relationships with their friends was a shadow representation of who she is as a girl. So who are your friends? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Think about that. So when is together good when it comes to friends? Here, number 1, I got 4 quick things. If your passions align toward life. Life. And what is life? Jesus. Jesus is life. When your passions align towards life. I've been in friendships where passions were purposely directed towards darkness and death. Has anyone ever been in a relationship like that? You became friends because of alcohol. You became friends because of drugs. You became friends because you like to fight. You became friends because of an addiction. You could become friends with somebody because of things and darkness. You can align together in darkness, but I want to encourage you tonight, you need to align with people who are passionate about life. Life in Jesus. Coming alive in Jesus Christ. This is when friendships are good. This is when together is good. Number 2, if you're willing to work out differences. This man I follow, his name is Sam Chan. He's got an amazing story about his life. He's an Indian man, and he's much older now. He's well into his 60s, and he's had an incredible life journey. And now he writes leadership books, and he's an amazing man. And one of the things he says is relationships that last are based on more about fixing and solving differences rather than what's in common. Think about that. Relationships that last are more about coming together on differences rather than coming together on what your common interests are. And so if you're willing, number 2, if you're willing to work out differences, that's when friendships are good. Nobody's the same. No, we don't all agree on things. Are you willing to let your best friend be different than you in certain areas and certain things? Or are you just ready to nitpick them to death until they think and talk and act and look just like you? That's not a friend at that point, is it? The friend is okay with you doing things differently and talking differently and looking differently. Being different, coming from a different family and background and accepting them and being with them and loving on them. And it's the differences that make us powerful and not just the sameness. When you're trying to function in a world where you want everybody to be the same, I hate to say this, but that's exactly what Hitler wanted. Isn't that scary? And let's not just try to create a world where everybody looks, acts, thinks, and talks and dresses alike and is just this mirror image of us. But these are our friends, these are our best friends, and we definitely don't agree on everything, but boy, we love Jesus, and there's those things that just we do together. You understand what I'm saying there? I think it's powerful. Number 3, when it's together good when it comes to friends, if the differences complement one another. Complement one another. I'm getting a little deeper in this differences thing. I love what Jesus Christ did. He's our ultimate example. Jesus, what was his job? He was a teacher. He was a rabbi. That was his job. And he called 12 disciples to follow him. And not a single one of them was a teacher or a rabbi. Interesting. He didn't align anybody with him who was like him. He aligned everybody to him who was different than him. But the differences complemented each other. And so when it's together good, when the differences complement one another. Sometimes the differences are so drastic and so different and so crazy and so wild that the relationship is dysfunctional, right? One person loves church, the other person is an atheist. That's going to be a difficult relationship to last in the long run, right? It's going to be hard. Those differences are so drastic. It's just hard to align those things, on a daily basis, But there's some differences that actually can complement one another and create a real synergy. I love this idea of synergy. You guys know what synergy is? Synergy is this, is the idea of 1 always equals 1, but then synergy says this, 1 plus 1 equals 7. And it actually is true in the world. You don't understand, do you? Look this up. 1 horse can pull 1,000 pounds. 2 horses can pull 10,000 pounds. That's called synergy. And that's the kind of stuff we need to create in our relationships. This idea of synergy. And last thing here, when it's together good, it's so simple. But number 4, last one in this section is just when you're nice. When you're nice. Like some people are nice, and then some people are just mean. Right? I was at Disney World, and we were walking around, and it's crowded, and we're pushing strollers. I got 3 kids, all right? And by the first 10 minutes in the park, all of them need to be in a stroller. It's 10 minutes into the park, So we're pushing strollers, okay? And this didn't happen to us, but we were walking through the park, just doing our thing, and this lady is just walking towards us, and she's got her daughter. Her daughter's probably 8 years old, and holding her hand and dragging her along, and they just get in the way of a woman in a wheelchair. An old woman in a wheelchair. They just kind of get in her way. And this old woman in this wheelchair, this is in passing. They've never seen each other before. They've never even locked eyes for 1 second in their entire life. And this woman in this wheelchair barks out this thing and says, "Get that girl in a stroller." And this mother jumps into mother den mode. Like you've just, like a hyena mother who's just trying to protect her cub or something like that. She just rips into this old woman in this wheelchair. And I said, whoa, I can't say that from the pulpit, but who the bleep do you think you are? I'll do whatever the bleep I want with my kid. Bleep you. And then Disney World. And I'm like, some people are nice, and then there's some old women in wheelchairs who are just mean. It's just the way the world is sometimes, and let's just be nice. Let's just be nice. The 3 most important decisions you will ever make in your life are this. First one is, what are you going to do about Jesus? And that's all about a relationship. Second one, most important decision you'll ever make is, who are you going to marry? And it has to do with relationship. The third most important decision you will ever make, this is in the correct order: Jesus, spouse, third, your friends. Those are the three most important decisions you will ever make in your entire life. What are you doing about Jesus? Then, who are you going to marry? Then, who are your friends? In that order. And you get these things correct, this is what happens. This is called the synergy. This is called the synergy. We get stuck focusing on the wrong things. We get stuck focusing on things. We get stuck focusing on career, budget, vocation, where you're going to live. We focus on these things, But I want to encourage you with this. You figure out what you're doing with Jesus. You figure out what you're doing with your spouse. You figure out who your friends are. Then look at what falls into place. Because you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. All of a sudden, you get these three things aligned properly. This is what happens. Your direction unfolds. I promise you, your direction unfolds. Trust me, you marry somebody, things change. Things change. Your direction unfolds. You marry somebody who hates Michigan, you won't be living here very long. I'm just saying. Your direction unfolds. Your purpose unfolds. Jesus will tell you your purpose. We get too worried about, what are we doing? What am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? You just get aligned with Jesus, your purpose unfolds. Your values unfold. What are your values? What are those things that you hang your hat on? And I got 3 values that I hang my hat on, and it's HIL, and I climb that hill. And it's I want to be humble, I want to have integrity, and I want loyalty. Those are the 3 values in my life that I really cherish: humility, integrity, and loyalty. I want to be humble, and I want people in my life to be humble. I want to be the most integrous person I can be, and I want the people I'm involved with to have integrity. And I love loyalty. I cherish loyalty. I want people to be loyal. These are 3 things that I hang my hat on. And I found these 3 things because I found Jesus, I found my spouse, and I found my friends. It was after I found those things that I found these things. Another thing that comes into place when you get these decisions aligned properly, vision for your life comes into place, which is something that we all want so badly and we're searching for. But until you find Jesus, you can't find vision because you're lost. It's dark without Jesus. You're lost. It's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm lost. I'm confused. Where do I go? You need to find Jesus. You won't have vision without him. Another thing that comes into focus when you get these 3 things properly into place, your career unfolds properly. Your career unfolds properly. I promise you. I promise you, especially you girls. You girls will struggle to find a career until you find your spouse. And think about this. I know so many girls that will go to a college because their boyfriend will go to a college. And they didn't ever even ask themselves, do I want to go to this place? Do I want to study there? They're just going there because their boyfriend went there. Am I right? So their careers begin to unfold because of a boyfriend. Right? And then you break up with that boyfriend, and now you're lost. Now what am I going to do? I don't know what I want to do. And your career will unfold based upon your relationship with your spouse. I promise you. I absolutely promise you this. Just ask my wife. It will. Your spouse has so much to do with your career. I promise you. So much to do with your career. Anyway, you're calling all these things begin to unfold. So quickly now, one more point. How do together? I like that non-sentence sentence that I've created there. So how do we do it? How do we do all this? It's so easy. You ready? Just time. Time. It's only point there. How do together? Time. So how do you get to find your spouse? How you get to develop great friends? How you get to find Jesus? Time spent with them. When I was in high school, I didn't really have great friends until this one thing changed. I changed schools. When I went to high school, I went into a Christian school. It was a small school with like 80 kids, kindergarten through senior. And it was just 80 kids in this little building. And I went from a public school, I went from Fenton Public Schools to this super small Christian school in Highland. And I was worried about all this, and it was concerned for me about going to this small school. I was worried and concerned about all this. But this is what happened is at this school, I ended up being forced to be friends with a few guys, because there was only a few guys there. But we'd spend all day together at school, and then we all end up going to church together. And then we'd all end up going to school together, and then we'd all end up hanging out at each other's houses on the weekend, and then we'd all end up going to school together, all end up going to church together. School, weekend, school, church. You see what I'm saying? Just this time spent together, and we were Christians, and we loved Jesus, and our passions were aligned, and our differences were okay, and none of us were mixed up with girls, and we were loving on Jesus, and we were going on mission trips together, and we were in the worship team together, and we were serving at church together, and it was all this time spent. I actually started to develop relationships for the very first time that were healthy and functional and amazing, and it made my heart come alive. I didn't even know what I was missing until I had it. You love when that feeling? You're like, I didn't even know I needed an iPhone until I had one. Like, that's what it's kind of like. You're like, I didn't even know I needed friendships until I had one. And how did it happen? It was all about time spent together. You're not going to develop amazing relationships with people at church if you're just spending 2 hours a week with them. It's not going to happen. And so what we try to do is we try to create places for you to hang out outside of church. We got a house party this weekend. Hey-o. Hey, can you throw up the house party information? Let's see if it's going to get up there. Did you hear me? Can you throw up the house party information? And there it is. There you go. This Friday, 7 to 9, there's the address. Because you can't get together if you're not together. Right? I don't know any other way to say that. And so Becca runs our house parties. If you want more information, Becca, can you stand up? There you go. Talk to her. See, that's a friendly face, isn't it? And you can talk to her. And so, but this is why we do this. This is why we do things like the Switch. How many people feel like you developed amazing relationships at the Switch with people you never really known before? Why is that? Because you spent 24 hours together straight. Time. One last verse for you, then we'll worship. Hebrews 10:25. Not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Not neglecting to meet together. Let's not neglect to meet together. It takes some work, doesn't it, to get together sometimes? We had about 20 to 21 Momentum people at the Switch. It took work for them to get there. They had to pay $30. They had to take off work. They had to fix their schedules. They had to say no to some things in order to do this thing called the Switch. It took a little bit of work, but it was worth it. The house party this Friday, it's going to take, some of you're like terrified to just go to a house you don't know, to be with people you don't know all that well. But the little bit of work it takes, it pays off. You become friends with people. You start doing life together. And who knows, at the house party, who knows? You just might run into your future spouse. Because you meet a girl there who's at a house party. What does she love? She loves Jesus. She loves people. She's into the church. She's all about being discipled. She wants to make friends. I mean, what other girl? That's the kind of girl you want, dudes. Girls, that's the kind of boy you want. And so that's a great place to meet somebody. Man, together. Let's stand. let's worship tonight. We always end with some worship. We'll worship a song. We'll come back out and say a few things. Then we'll party a little bit. You guys want to party a little bit tonight? We like to party, so we're going to have some fun. All right, let's worship.